You take cookies all the time in there?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting of the Moscow City Council. Today is Monday, April 20th. It's fun having a more seats filled than usual, and it's because we've got some fun news things that we're going to talk about tonight. But first off, we always start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand if you're able and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you. First on our agenda, we have an Earth Day proclamation that I will read in whole, and then we've got one and a half items of regular business, and then the folks who are here for the fun news things. You don't have to say the entire meeting unless you want to. But first up, we have our Earth Day proclamation, which reads, whereas April 22nd marks the 56th anniversary of Earth Day, a day to remember our connection to the environment, our reliance on the environment, and the need for environmental stewardship and activism. And whereas Earth Day was first celebrated to inspire an appreciation of the natural world through conservation and protection, and whereas all people of this earth from all walks of life have a right to a healthy environment, and whereas we recognize that our actions today significantly impact the health of our planet, its ecosystems, and all forms of life that depend on a healthy environment, and whereas as caretakers of our planet, we have an obligation to preserve and protect the state of the environment through community service and responsible stewardship for future generations, and whereas it is imperative that we empower communities, individuals, and organizations to harness their collective strength to advocate for policies and practices that promote sustainability and stewardship of our natural resources. And whereas engaging in local and global efforts to conserve water, enhance biodiversity, reduce pollution, and combat climate change is essential to creating a more sustainable future. And whereas we honor the contributions of individuals and organizations dedicated to environmental stewardship and advocating for a sustainable future. Now, therefore, I, Haley Lewis, Mayor for the City of Moscow, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2026 to be observed and celebrated as Earth Day in the City of Moscow, a special day to remember our Earth, a day to renew our commitment to environmental stewardship and to the implementation of efforts to improve, protect, and enhance the environment. And then I scribble it. So, neatly, with my blue pen that I brought, there it is, hiding under the gavel. We love it. And what I think I'll do is I'll present this one to Kelly when she comes up in a second, and we can do a photo op. Victoria, I will present to Victoria in a second. I love it. But I think we'll group that in with our Earth Day awards, if that's okay. So we'll do that in just a second. Okay, groovy. So we have a handful of things on the consent agenda. So these are things that already have had opportunity for thorough discussion amongst our city council members. So today is the third Monday of April. On the second and fourth Mondays of the month at 4 p.m. in this room, half of the council gets together and discusses these sorts of many of these items, some that end up on the consent agenda and some that will come before everyone on council. But they're routine in nature, they're contracts. If you are curious about the longer, robust conversation for any of these, those meetings are always recorded on our city YouTube channel. So either the Public Works and Finance meeting or the Administrative Committee meeting. So with that, I am going to lock eyes with Scott for this one. Okay.
Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Can you pull item E, the authorization for payment for the landfill partial cell closure off the consent
Yes, I'm going to remove item E from the consent agenda to be discussed separately. And does that count as a motion? I still need a motion for that. That counts. I need a motion. That counts as a motion. I need a motion. Okay, Drew, do you feel some type of way?
Yeah, I move approve the consent agenda.
Without
E.
Okay, groovy. Do I have a second?
Second.
I love it, Evan. Thank you. I'm going to go down my list. Drew?
Aye.
Evan?
Aye.
Sage?
Aye.
Bryce?
Aye.
And Sandra?
Aye.
And Scott?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. And so that means E's been pulled from the agenda to be discussed separately. Scott, would you like to say anything?
I just need to abstain from the vote. So.
Okay, groovy. For conflict of interest. We love it. Okay, so now we're voting on consent agenda, item E, the authorization of payment for Tier 2 demolition landfill partial cell closure.
I move we approve item E.
Thank you, Sandra. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Bryce. Okay, we'll go down the list. Bryce.
Aye.
Sage.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
not Scott, because Scott is abstaining, and Evan.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. Number 2 on our regular agenda is mayoral appointments. I don't have any, but you will have a swath of them at the first meeting in May. So you'll get those, you'll get everyone's applications as well as the roster as presented for each of the commissions. And so that brings us item number 3. So every meeting of the regular city council, we have 15 minutes, that up to 15 minutes. We don't have to sit here in silence for all 15 unless you want to. Of public comment for anyone from the public to come and introduce yourself, tell us what your name is, where you reside, and it's your chance to bring something to our attention that we may not know, or tell us about an event that's going on. The 2 things that we are not allowed for legal reasons to be discussed at the public comment are things that are pending before planning and zoning, or things that are before the Board of Adjustment, because those are considered quasi judicial. And I'm looking at my charter school friends in the audience, and we can talk about what quasi judicial means later if you want. So with that, for up to 3 minutes, if anyone wants to come and share what's on their mind with council, this is your chance to do so. And I have a very bright, shiny thing that I think will make a really angry noise if you run the full minutes down. But introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what's on your mind, and we'll go from there.
Hello, council, members of the public. My name is John Slagboom. I reside at 924 East A Street, Moscow, Idaho, the lovely town that we call home. First and foremost, I want to thank the city administrators, especially Lori M. Hopkins over there, for putting up with all of my questions and requests. I thank you so much. You go above and beyond the call of duty, and you're so helpful. So thank you very much. And Bill Belknap, thank you for everything you do for the city. This public comment was going to be about the stage, but I think we've beat that horse pretty dead by now. Y'all know where I sit and stand on it. I love that stage, and I think we all do. And I would make one final remark to say, I really think that we should rebuild the one that exists with volunteers, just like we did 40 years ago. That said, let's move on, talk about other things. It's budget season, and in March 23rd, we had the first budget workshop, which we talked about strategic initiatives. And it is going to be a very tight budget year, as it so seems, with capital projects, operational costs coming up short. And I would ask you guys, well, you're already going to do this, I know, and I trust you will, but fiscal responsibility has to come first. And I hope that if there are capital projects that are underfunded, such as street repairs, bathrooms, lighting for different fields, that we take a really strong look at the capital accumulation for the stage and see how can that be applied to affect every citizen effectively throughout the year. So that's all I had for tonight, and thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to come and visit with us and share what's on your mind? Sure. Introduce yourself and an organization if you represent one.
Yes.
I love it. And we're going to cycle all the way through. Sorry, Casey, hang on. This really made more sense in my mind that this was going to be a really smooth tool that we would all benefit from. We'll find out. All right. Share what's on your mind, Casey.
Sure. Hi, my name is Casey Bolt. I am the director of Sojourners Alliance. For those of you who don't know, we are a housing homelessness nonprofit based here in Moscow. I reside in Pullman, but I work in Idaho. I just want to talk as quick as I can about the prospect of establishing a housing authority in the city of Moscow. So I've been working on that idea for a few years now, going back to when it started as a Latah County initiative, and ultimately that ended. And then now the conversations have been about to do that in the city of Moscow. So myself and others in what we call our a working group brought the initiative to the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, who eventually moved to recommend it. That was under the last regime of the council. I understand they might be saying something else today, but I just wanted to highlight this issue. So I still believe that this is a necessary measure to help solve our housing challenges here in the city of Moscow. I envision the authority working in margins that are left unfilled by the private market and by our existing infrastructure. In one way that can happen is by facilitating the right projects, bringing together otherwise disparate resources that are targeted at underserved populations. I'm going to start talking faster. As Director of Sojourners, I work with people who are underserved every day. I can say with confidence that the current status quo does not work for quite a few people. So we receive funding to, talk to people that are homeless and direct them to the right resources. So we collect a database. Here in my hand are 53 households in our region representing 94 people that in various stages of homelessness. That is the most acute symptom of our housing issue. But another that is not quite so acute, or there are many, and we've talked about the data on that before, but I don't have it in front of me, that pay more than 30 or 50% of their income for their housing, even if they are housed, which then leaves less for other necessities like food and healthcare and so on. So, in my opinion, we need to take further steps to address these issues, and I request that we and myself and others try to get some time at your upcoming housing workshop in May to dig in deeper on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. And I will respond. Oh, nice job. We won't even. Okay, I set it to the tropical alarm, so it's maybe not quite so angry. I will just add, so the workshop that we have scheduled for, thank you, the 26th, will be a council-led workshop. It is not meant to be, it is one of the few tools that we have as a governing body for us to discuss and brainstorm things that don't have an action item sort of quality to them. And so they are open to the public. We do publish them as such. You can invite, the council can decide to invite folks. However, what the May one will be on the 26th is going to be talking through the legislative changes that the city will have to figure out how to come into compliance, that our friends in Boise at the state house has passed. And I know that the housing authority conversation is one that is on the agenda. So it will be discussed. It likely won't be another presentation. It will be council discussing the information that the body has received already. And again, it is publicly in this room, open to the public in this room, but it is a council workshop, not a community workshop. So May 26th at 5 p.m. Thank you, Bill. But thank you, Casey. It is.
Can I just say one thing in response to that?
Sure.
Just, yeah, I and we serve at the behest of this process. So yeah, we're just interested in facilitating that, and just we've been in it a lot. So we just thought bringing what we had could be useful. So
Yeah, no,
thank you.
I appreciate that for sure. Okay, Groovy. With that, we have hello, sir. I will reset the timer. Please introduce yourself, who you are, what you're here for, and 3 minutes. Here we go.
Nils Peterson, Executive Director, Hills and Rivers Housing Trust, 627 North Van Buren. I support the idea of a housing authority, but I'm here to share with you news about Pullman. I attend a working group in Pullman that is organized under the City Council. It's not quite Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, but it is an analog. They spent a year plus working through organizational things to become what they are and to propose a goal to the City Council of Pullman. That goal is that the city needs 30 newly constructed middle housing units per year. The council has adopted that goal. My request of you is that you instruct the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission that they should work through a process, identify a target number, identify the character of that number, and bring it back to you to adopt. Pullman is in a position to now say, okay, we adopted 30. How did it go? What got in the way of achieving 30? What do we as a community need to do to improve our effort at reaching that goal? So that would be my suggestion, that you advise Fair and Affordable that you need some advice from them on a target. Thank you.
Thanks, Nels. Appreciate it. Okay, anyone else like to come and visit with us for a 3-minute increment? Going once. Going twice. All right, we will close public comment for the evening. Yes. Okay, more fun stuff. So item number 4 on our agenda is the Earth Day Awards. So I will start with our proclamation one real quick. So I imagine Victoria is here too. Well, one, because Victoria is a very engaged citizen and I really love learning from her every day. Are you here on behalf of the Sustainable Environment Commission? I love it. And are there other commission members here who would like to come and pose for a photo? If you want. Okay, we'll start with this one, and then I have 3 other Earth Day awards that we will give out. So come on over, pose for a photo. Staff advisor.
Just spinach, it's okay.
Thanks, Lori. Would you like to share?
White out.
Okay, that's all right. Always a choice. Okay. I'm going to take my little stack down yonder. So I'll go to this mic for easy photo switcheroony and make sure Corey's paying attention in the back for the camera work on our YouTube stream. So we had 10 applications. Kelly and the Sustainable Environment Commission always receive these applications and help vet them and review them and provide recommendations. And then the mayor issues them. I am going to make Kelly pose in every single one of these photos. Okay, great. Love it. So we have 3 awards, and I kind of want to make you pick which one we're going to do first. Okay, great. So I'm really excited about this one. So for in the individual category, we'd like to provide this award to Erin Jeslani from PBAC. And I don't know if you would like to come and share the nominator, one who nominator. Mike, come here and sing Erin's praises with me, and then we're gonna make Erin pose for a photo too. So,
All right, thank you, Mayor.
yes.
So I'm Mike Foppel. I'm the Executive Director of the Palouse Basin Aquifer Committee, which we usually call PBAC. I nominated Erin for a list of things that I wasn't prepared to enumerate at this point. But Erin is our Water Conservation Program Coordinator. She came to us over a year ago now, 15, 16 months. We had started this program. We had started doing our water conservation outreach and getting serious about that. And she has institutionalized this program. We've taken it from an AmeriCorps to a regular staff position. And Erin has just really elevated PBAC. So I don't remember exactly what I put on the nomination, but that's what has happened, and that's why she's highly deserving.
And more than worthy. So, Erin, you have to come and pose, and Mike, if you want to pose, and Kelly, if you want to pose. But we have a fun.
There's like 3 inches.
Yeah, you get to be taller than I am. Erin, at the mic, everybody.
I'll be short and sweet, like me, 5'3". Just kidding. So yeah, I've been at PBAC for 15 months. I've been really honored to kind of bring water conservation to the community in a really poignant way that I think I'm proud to say that I'm proud of. And I'm grateful for this honor. I'm grateful to be nominated and stuff. And I'm just happy to see people that I recognize because we're all just invested in our community. Thank you.
Stage you pick. Ahem. I see this So in the business category, Chuck Bond is the one who submitted this nomination. And my dad worked for Wasson Carey Construction, a very, 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 I shouldn't have said so many varies, a while ago. But I really appreciated Chuck's nomination. I don't know if Chuck wants to come and say anything, but our winner, our recipient for this year in the business category is Wasson Carey Construction. So round of applause. Chuck and the Wasson Careys, if you want to come by.
I'll sneak you in.
We'll pose right here and Chuck has to be in it. That's the compromise. Come here, Chuck. We love it. Hey, thanks.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. And we'll go this round 2.
I graduated with Crystal. She's good people, guys. Thank you for the long way. Thank you for keeping stuff on. Okay. And I think I'm going to hear and see a lot of movement on this one, which is pretty cool. So Laura Hines, is she here? Not here, that's okay. But Laura Hines submitted a nomination for the Palouse Prairie Charter School, and they are the winner, recipient. We're all winners. We're all winners. I selected the Palouse Prairie Charter School for the public entity winner for this year's Mayor Art Awards. So if the Palouse Prairie Charter School wants to come up, and we'll do a group photo for all of your incredible.
Yeah, good luck with that word.
Okay, and the council crew, if you guys want to switch behind, we'll have you a picture. Who likes to?
You want to stand up or sit or what do we?
I'll stand. I know, right?
Ellen?
There you go.
Okay.
Get them all nice and tight.
The hardest part is smiling at the same time, ready? Okay, we'll do a serious one first. Smiles first, ready?
Okay, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, give me one for Lori, ready? You want to make it silly face?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
1, 2, 3, stop. Pretty goofy.
I think I'm goofy. I love it. Yeah, goofy is my
Good job.
As long as we rise to the occasion.
Crushed it. Prepared.
That's right. That's right. She sends her soccer for softball.
Yeah, he's coming from
Love it.
working hard.
That's cool.
Let's see. Oh, she didn't text me. Oh.
As written. By Laura. So, Palouse Prairie Charter School exemplifies hands-on, place-based environmental learning that connects students directly to the ecosystems of our region. Since 2019, PPCS students have restored their campus landscape with native Palouse Prairie plants, contributing to habitat restoration and regional biodiversity. This year, students across all grade levels engaged in expeditions that promote conservation, ecological literacy, and civic engagement. And it goes through to talk about some of the really cool things that the kindergarten projects, second grade projects, third grade projects, and middle school projects. And it's just really cool. We got a lot. The kids are all right. Like, it's pretty cool. So, yay, Palouse Prairie. Yay, Wasson Carey. And yay, Aaron. We love it. Anything else you want to add as the bookend? Okay, all right. Okay. Excellent. And if our award friends want to keep hanging out, that's great. We have a couple other agenda items. You also can go enjoy the sunshine if you still want to. You've got about 20 minutes of really good playtime outside. So, okay. Next on our agenda is a Citizen Commission report with the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission with Lucy Falsey and Aya Sumner. Hi, Lucy. Come on up. Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Winners. Felt, heard and felt, sir. Oh, yeah, no.
This is a fun night to
More
be
for me,
here.
I guess.
Packed house.
You guys don't get many kids. All right, I'm Lucy Falsey. I'm the staff liaison for the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce the commission's chair, Aya Sumner. And she has been on the commission since 2022. She's been the chair since the last commission, so she's newer in that position. She works at UI and got her interest in fair housing while working with the chamber and talking with the community. Come on up, Aya.
Thanks, Lucy. Welcome, Aya.
All right. Well, I'm just going to do the annual report for the Moscow Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. Yeah, we'll just go through it. So to start off with the commission duties. So the commission is responsible for recommending various ways in which the city may further fair housing practices and affordable housing practices. The commission also recommends ways to inform the community regarding responsibilities and rights under the federal housing law and related amendments and any applicable state and local laws or ordinances. And the commission reviews on at least an annual basis the city code analysis and impediments to fair housing and action plan, and shall make recommendations to the mayor, the council for amendments or changes in that. And then the commission also reviews the city's efforts to promote affordable housing and shall make recommendations to promote affordable housing practices. And consult on fair housing planning objectives, communications, and assist in coordination and execution of the city's fair housing action plan. There are more duties. The Fair and Affordable Housing Commission also makes recommendations to the mayor and council of necessary changes in the Moscow Fair and Affordable Housing Ordinance, and recommends acceptance of federal, state, or other assistance in formulating or carrying out programs to prevent or eliminate discriminatory housing practices and to cooperate with federal, state, and local agencies in carrying out such programs. So this is our commission. I know there's a few of us here. So Joe Ellen's here and Jennifer. Thank you both for being here. We've got a great group on the commission. Evan's our current council liaison. Okay, so for the past year, fair housing outreach and education. So we did the fair housing proclamation last meeting. I was out of town, so I couldn't be here to present, but thank you for being flexible. We usually are there at the Latah County Wellness Fair where we have a chance to interact with the public. A lot of times when we are doing outreach and education, we're there with partners who are also like here in the room with Hills and Rivers, Jennifer's organization, and more, just to provide information for everybody on what's available. We do the annual fair housing training, which I think this is one of the most effective and important things our commission really does, because it provides training to people who are both landlords and tenants on what they can do and how to be what's the word that I'm thinking? Like compliant and very aware of their rights. And then we also table every year at the farmers market, which is a great way to interact with people. A lot of people who are both outside the community, which is wonderful. I think it says a lot for our market, but there's a lot of people there who we hear from who then we can take that information back to the commission on challenges that they have. And we, this past year, we sent in a letter to the city council. I have a copy of it here because we sent it in September, which the council looks a little bit different now than it did in September, of a recommendation for Moscow to form a housing authority. And so, oh wait, I have to go backwards. Oh no, it's gonna make me click through everything. Okay, basically with the housing authority, last year, a lot of our meetings was listening to people in the community of the ways that the lack of affordable housing and changes in that have directly impacted their lives. And so a lot of our meetings from February through August were focused a lot on the housing authority, what that might look like, hearing from other people in the state who have housing authorities in their community, and also and hearing some of the really difficult conversations of the ways that people are being pushed out of their homes and pushed out of their community because there is not that much that is affordable. And so when we sent that letter, it wasn't out of a lack of like research. We felt like we really did a lot of work hearing from experts in our community, hearing from the nonprofit organizations that work day to day in trying to provide housing. And we know that housing, fair and affordable housing, there isn't going to be like one giant solution that's going to magically fix everything. And we know that process is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. We thought that the Housing Authority would be a really wonderful tool to try and address a very large problem, not only in our community, but just nationwide. It's a very big issue that is not going to be easily solved. And the ways that a housing authority could address that by applying for or accepting or utilizing federal and state grants that are not available to some of our nonprofits that are doing the work. And a housing authority is like a quasi-government entity, and so it can acquire public land for affordable housing projects in ways that, again, is not available to the nonprofits who are already doing as much as they can in our community. And then a housing authority also has the ability to borrow and lend funds at lower interest rates than are available to private agencies. So those are some of the things that we highlighted in our letter to City Council back in September. And really with the understanding that a housing authority can be used as a tool to a very large problem that doesn't have an easy fix. So these are some of like the handouts that we give to for landlord rights and responsibilities and for tenant rights and responsibilities. So when we are tabling at events, either in the community, these are also available in city buildings and something that we're working to distribute around town. So it's a little more available. I feel like when we do table at farmers market or at the wellness fair, it's one of those things where people are like, oh, we didn't know that this existed. And, the brochure hands out makes it really easy for people to see the things, the rights and responsibility. Upcoming commission activities. So the Fair Housing Training Event with Intermountain Fair Housing Council, that is happening on April 22nd. That's this week from 9:30 in the morning to 3 p.m. This is a really great training. We've been able to do this every year. This year, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it because of funding. Intermountain Fair Housing Council was able to get some grant funding to be able to bring this here because we did not think this would happen this year. But it's a really great reminder for anybody who is a landlord on their rights and responsibilities and for tenants on their rights. And it's a really great opportunity for people to come with questions and hear from an attorney, from the attorneys that work with Intermountain Fair Housing Council. Intermountain Fair Housing Council is an organization that a lot of times when we are chatting with people at the market or at tabling events, this is like one of our first places to go to direct them for more information, for assistance. And they're a really great organization, and I'm grateful that they'll be able to be here in person this year. So if you want that flyer, or if you need this information in an easy to distribute email to share with your community, happy to send that along. So that's this week. And then our commission's going to be tabling at Farmers Market in September. A lot of times we've tabled in the spring to more closely coincide during Fair Housing Month. So we're going to try in September to see if we can get a few more students. We're a university town, so we're aware that there's a really high population of students who are renters in our community, and a lot of these things impact our our students as well. So we're hoping that we can broaden our audience a little bit here with September. And then we're just going to continue to look at ways to promote fair and affordable housing and to make recommendations when appropriate. We know you guys have the housing workshop coming up. I'm happy to resend this letter about the housing authority if you guys would like to see it. I know we have friends today who've already mentioned the housing authority, and it's on your agenda. So that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions for Aya? Bryce.
Yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for the work that you do. And I mean, for those that don't know, I do teach philosophy at U of I, so I'm bound to get a little bit more conceptual sometimes. So this is a conceptual question that's maybe a little bit unfair, but I am curious, kind of in conversations that you all have within the commission, like how are you defining affordable, if at all? Like what is a working definition of affordable or affordability? I know it's relative to so much, but I'm curious, like how you all discuss affordability. Like, what does that look like within the commission?
That's a great question, because I feel like there is, oh, Lucy gave me the shrug. All right.
I apologize, but I am curious.
No, I mean, I think like when, so Niels was up here earlier during the public comment period and talking about like what percentage of people's income is going to housing. And I think that's a really good indicator. Like if people are spending over 30% of their income on housing, then there isn't that same amount that they can use to cover groceries, other utilities, like other necessities. And there are so many times where the groups that work directly with helping people find housing, whether it's helping them like help build and get their first home, or whether it's helping them find a place to stay for a few days or to like stay so they don't get booted out of their lease, just to help them make like that 1 or 2 months, like there are so many other resources and support systems of nonprofits trying to do so much for our community. And I think the more that income goes towards housing, then the more that people are relying on that much larger support system. So it strains, like it's a domino effect that strains the whole system.
Okay. Drew, sure.
Yeah, a couple questions. Thanks for being here. Thanks for what you do. In the state of Idaho, how many housing authorities do you know of?
That is a great question. I believe there's one in Blaine, and I believe in Blaine County, and
Do you have one too, or
I know
Ada
that there's one in
County? Pocatello has one. In Boise.
And I feel like there was talks in Sandpoint too.
Yeah, and so some valleys just recently shut theirs down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so my just question I think to think about is why that is.
Yeah.
And what do they accomplish when they're being given funding? I think is important questions.
Can you repeat that separate?
Yeah. For Blaine County,
Yeah.
we'll say Sun Valley, the Wood River Valley area. Why? Like, it's not a question for you, but I think it's important if these conversations are happening within this commission. I think it's important to talk about of what did they accomplish, or what did they not accomplish, and then where were they going, and what did they get done. And so, not asking you because you're not a part of that, but I think those are important questions. I think to further the conversation. So, yep.
Thank you. Any other questions for you?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay, Sage.
Hey, yeah, thanks for presenting. And full disclosure, I was on the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission last year before I was elected to council. So I've been involved in some of these conversations with the Housing Authority, and also had heard, some concerns over IFHC's funding and the mechanisms for that. So do you know if IFHC and their training, at least for the immediate outlook, is looking more stable, or is that still unknown?
That's a great question. I feel like there's so many things, or this is going to kind of like piggyback off of Drew's question, is that so many of these things rely on grant funding. So, like Intermountain Fair Housing Council, we were we were told they just didn't have any funding, where the training that we've been able to do has been predominantly covered entirely by grant funding. And so it really hasn't been a training that our commission has had to pay for in the past, because it's been entirely covered by grant funding, and they just didn't have any of that funding. And we didn't have the money to make up for that. So being able to have I believe what happened is Lucy sent an email being like, we're so sorry, we'd love to be able to offer this training this year, but we don't have the money to pay for that. And that's something like our commission had talked about and tried to find alternatives, whether we could do like a virtual training. And we were just like, this isn't something we can do. And then they were like, we've got grant funding. Do you still want to try? So, I mean, it's really like us deciding to like sadly deciding that we can't offer that training, and then getting the grant funding. And I imagine, I shouldn't imagine, but I would imagine so many of the things that are happening, we talk about the support system. It's a lot of nonprofits that rely on funding, whether it's funding from donors, whether a lot of it is grant funding. And so when all of that grant funding is up in the air, it really puts a stress on so many systems that can use that grant funding. So.
Any other question? Evan, sure.
Thanks much for the presentation. It's a favorite topic amongst all of us. I'm wondering if you consider the 2019 study about housing on the Palouse still relevant, or if the commission is going to go through that and maybe help us out by pointing out parts of it that are workable and parts that aren't, or parts that have faded into obscurity, because it was a good report at the time, and now I'm realizing it's 7 years old.
Yeah, that's something that I can see Joellen. What are you saying? Do you want to come up here? We haven't reviewed it recently, but like some of the stuff that we've talked about with like housing studies and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these are all things that we have to coordinate and have a budget for to be able to do. And I think that's probably the bigger challenge, is how much some of those bigger studies cost. And yes, 2019 looks very different than 2026. So I feel like I keep bringing up the budget, but that's something that I believe would cost money, and would cost probably a lot more than the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission can ask for.
And so the context I'll add for our less full, but still more full chamber than usual, and for council. So in 2019, the Partnership for Economic Prosperity, which is not around anymore, commissioned a study. And it's a gray cover with orange text on it, and it's beautifully spiral bound. And I have several copies in my office if anyone wants to stop by and get a copy. It was funded by the university. I think PEP gave some contributions, and I think SEL and maybe Avista had funded it as well. And it was completed in 2019. It is an interesting document that is pre-COVID, that is pre-remote work surge. But I think it is a good question, because there are examples in there that, granted, there's examples that are in that report pulling from other state environments and regulatory environments that may not make sense for Moscow, but they are an interesting aggregator of ideas and thoughts. We love a good thought experiment, so that was commissioned in 2018. I think it was completed in 2019. If anyone wants to read it, let me know and I'll get you a copy. But Scott, what do you got?
Thank you for presenting. My unbiased opinion, it was the best presentation we've probably ever had.
Thank you.
It was
Standing
fantastic.
ovation. Okay.
So, probably ever. One of these things, housing is something that, I mean, even while we're out talking to people on the street, every time we go out and we go in the communities, it's something that comes up. And it's not something that if we just keep doing the same things will change. And so, the Habitat Hills and Rivers Sojourners Alliance, I mean, it speaks a lot that they're here and they're in support of this, because they're the ones who are trying to help the most vulnerable in our communities. So I think that says a lot. I'm not saying that like a housing authority is the answer, but it is up to the community and as well as us to help find solutions that will help the vulnerable community. So I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the words that everybody spoke together. And the city is going to be part of that and how we help further this conversation. So that was it.
Anything else for Aya? Okay, groovy. Thank you.
Okay, I have one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
Because I had a brain fart and I said Jennifer's organization, Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity also does such great work on our community. Okay, thank you.
I love it. Thanks, Aya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 6 on our agenda is Moscow Police Department Annual Report with Chief Anthony Antoni.
Tony?
Let me try this.
Close
Moscow-
enough.
Chief Dollinger. Let's just keep it really formal. Chief, welcome.
Hello. Get this pulled up here real quick. All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, Council. Thanks for having me this evening to go through 2025 as a bit of a recap. I think hopefully all of you got the flip book, the online flip book to go through. Obviously, this isn't going to be comprehensive. It'll be a little shorter than that document, but we'll go through it and feel free if you have any questions as I speak. I'd shoot them off. So can't see it too well from here, but this is just our organization chart showing our different divisions. Just for the public here, if you're not aware, Moscow Police Department has 3 different divisions within it. The first is operations, which is our patrol division. Then we've got our services division, which is basically anything that's not patrol. So we're talking investigations, parking, code enforcement, records, property, all of those services that help support the rest of the department. And then our campus division, as we contract with the university, we have a campus division up there working closely with them. This was our command staff again this year. So obviously myself and then the 3 captains who directly oversee those 3 different divisions. So for staffing, began the year with 28 sworn officers of the 33 budgeted. Still have the 2 officer positions unfortunately held back. And then unfortunately we were a net gain of 0 for last year. We ended with 28 sworn. And at the time we had 2 in training and 2 undergoing background investigation. So it just seems to be this continual perpetual thing, but we're working through it. And I think we're going to see some improvement, and we already have this year. But those are just a couple of the vacant specialty positions we've had to hold open. One of our general detective positions, the narcotics detective, and our traffic officer. So a couple of staff recognitions, and I hate to be long-winded, but I think these should be read out loud. So on December 20th, 2025, Corporal Aaron Morris and Officer Jeremiah Laney responded to a report of a fentanyl overdose. Upon arrival, Corporal Morris found a lifeless individual who was not breathing. Without hesitation, Corporal Morris began chest compressions and continued until Officer Laney arrived. Officer Laney quickly prepared and attached the AED to the individual, while Corporal Morris continued CPR until paramedics arrived and took over life-saving responsibilities. During this critical incident, Corporal Morris asked about the number of Narcan administrations previously administered and successfully determined the next course of action. This individual was hospitalized and released after many days. So that was a wonderful bit of heroism on their part. I have another one here for you. On February 6, 2025, again, Officer Jeremiah Laney, Officer Frank Fuchs, and Officer Chris Snevey responded to an unconscious individual. Officer Laney arrived first and began CPR. Officer Fuchs and Snevey arrived moments later, with Fuchs obtaining and applying the AED and Snevey cutting away the patient's shirt. Officer Snevey then provided breaths using a bag valve mask. Officer Laney continued chest compressions until paramedics arrived and took over. The patient was later transferred to St. Joseph Regional Medical Center in Lewiston and arrived in stable condition. Medical personnel stated that the officers, without a doubt, saved the patient's life with their extremely quick response. So very good work from our officers. And these life-saving awards, we've been trying to be more diligent about honoring them within a certain time frame versus waiting till the end of the year. So they've already received their awards at other ceremonies. Some other recognitions this year. Every year, the police department asks all of our personnel to nominate people from within so that we can be recognized. One from the sworn side of the house, as we call it, the officers, and then one from our services division. So this year, Officer Snevey was the recipient of that award, and he was recognized for his strong commitment to public safety and representing himself in the department professionally. He himself handled 668 calls for service last year alone, and he took 52 intoxicated drivers off our streets. That's extremely impressive. Just for example, in 2025, 9,000 people died due to impaired driving. So these are those things that our officers do every day that we don't know the lasting impacts and potential lives saved, but it is needing to be noted and recognized. And that's also why he got the top DUI award as well. And then Tim Smaldridge, who is our property and evidence coordinator, most organized person I've ever met in my entire life. He was recognized for just that. His continued efforts to find ways to improve and find efficiencies within our evidence and property is amazing. And this year was showcased by the preparation for what we thought was going to be a long homicide trial. So unfortunately, a lot of that work that Tim did, no one will ever get to know, except for us in the house. But we wanted to recognize him for that great work. Some other, we had some promotions. Corporal Caleb Struble, which I'll explain. I'll talk a little bit more here on the next slide. And then Corporal Justin Olson, who actually was our first ever hire from the outside in. So we hired him as a sergeant from another agency. And then Corporal Ken Patton was also promoted to sergeant. So to recognize Sergeant Struble a little bit, he left us in 2021 to go serve in the Montana National Guard. He was deployed to Kuwait and Syria with his infantry in support of Operation Spartan Shield. He did a 12-month deployment for that operation. And then afterwards, he was assigned as a bilateral affairs officer. Don't ask me what that means. I don't know. It was something to do with the embassy. But he moved his whole family to Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, and lived there for about 2.5 years with his family and worked in the embassy there. So he's got some pretty interesting stories. Next time you see Sergeant Struble around, you can ask him about his time in Kyrgyzstan. But we welcomed him back and very, very happy to have him back home. Appreciate his service to our country. A few things on our community events. Had a great year when it came to community events. This was our 19th annual New Beer Safety Fair that we're a part of. We don't run it anymore. But we had the University of Idaho football team and the men's basketball team out there helping us. They love to put on the fit the helmets to the children. So we gave away 450 bike helmets this year, and 35 car seat inspections were conducted. And we were able to provide 8 families with much needed car seats for their vehicles. So that was great. I don't have a whole lot of metrics when it comes to the National Night Out. It's just a big party downtown, and it was a great one this year. I remember seeing most of you down there. I'm usually the one on the grill cooking up the hot dogs. I was there with President Green, and I want to say we went close to 500 hot dogs this year. So it was a busy time,
Those
but
are
it was great.
metrics. That's an important metric.
It was. I mean, it was. Yeah. And the weather really cooperated. It was beautiful. And then we had our 10th annual Shop with a Cop. If you're not familiar with this event, this is something we partner with Walmart. It's through kind of a grant process, but they give us a bit of money, and we get to take kids from not only City of Moscow, we have Latah County, ISP, Fish and Game, even U.S. Forest Service, law enforcement there. So we get to serve children from not only Moscow, but Latah County and the surrounding areas. So they get to come with us, walk around Walmart and do shopping for them families and for themselves. And I'll tell you, some of the most heartwarming moments I have every year at Shop with a Cop when you have these just wonderful little kids walking around with you. And I remember this last year I had one, and I said, okay, well, we've got a little bit of money left on the card. What would you like to get for yourself? And their eyes just, I get to get something for me? Yeah, go for it. So it was great. It was a good time. Look forward to it every year. And then we also had our 23rd, can't believe it's been that long, annual Citizens Police Academy. Last year we had 31 community members and University of Idaho students that took a part in it. It was a lot of fun. I wish that bottom middle picture was a little bit more in focus and larger, but that's one of our students with, they're called Fatal Vision goggles. So they try to replicate different blood alcohol contents. And so that's one of the nights that when we teach DUIs, we'll put the students in those and then run them through field sobriety tests. And it's looking like he's dancing, but it's because he's losing his balance a little bit. So I thought that was kind of funny. Our cadet program continues to be a wonderful program that we are just, it's just blowing up. It's great. It's turned into this quite competitive process among students. This last year we had 12, and I think this year we're trying to bump it up to 15, which is really great. And just that partnership between the university and MPD for these kids to earn college credits. They come in, they get to learn the ins and outs of law enforcement, work alongside us at football games and other such things. It's great. And so far, we've found out that about 45% of our cadets have gone on to pursue law enforcement careers. Now, granted, unfortunately, not all of them have been with us. We have had a few, but I think these programs and similar programs are really doing a great service to recruit and retain future officers in the profession. So I'm happy to see them going out and serving other communities as well. Some crime statistics. Now, this comes with a little bit of a caveat because all of our crime statistics for not only the city of Moscow, which kind of encompasses Latah County, but the state of Idaho are all tabulated by the Idaho State Police. And they don't finalize their numbers until July. So I didn't want to necessarily have you folks waiting until July before you heard from me. So you'll notice that some of the 2025 numbers are missing. And the numbers for Moscow are more or less preliminary numbers. I'd say they're pretty close, but that's what we've gotten back from the state thus far. So as you can see, our crimes against persons barely ticked up by 1 there. So not much of an increase and still lower than 2023. Our crimes against property was about the same. Again, just off by 1 there and still much less than 2023. And crimes against society is one that looks like we had the greatest reduction in. And just for your knowledge, so crimes against persons are things like assaults, batteries, sex offenses, homicides, things against people. And then crimes against property are thefts, frauds, forgeries, embezzlement, things of those natures. And crimes against society is typically mainly drugs, drug issues. And then you can see the statistics there on the right of Idaho. Looks like in 2024, we had a slight uptick in crimes against persons, but the other 2 categories saw a pretty decent reduction statewide. So that's kind of nice to see. Here's our calls for service this year. And I know Mayor Lewis really wanted to make that last call at 11:59 on New Year's. Wait, it's true. So we had 11,199 calls for service last year, which was about an 8.4% increase over the year before. So that's pretty good. And then these aren't, of course, the full breadth of calls that we deal with, but these are just some of the highlights there. So this was kind of a big topic for this last year. So as you're all aware, in October, Latah County closed the jail. So we immediately had to set out to realize, what is this going to look for our agency? How are we going to overcome this? How are we going to, or not overcome rather, but deal with this? And unfortunately, right, and it still continues today, we have such low staffing numbers that it requires us to have an on-call schedule so that officers who should be on their days off, relaxing, recuperating, are unfortunately on call. And so if we get a call for an arrest, they're called back into work to either A, take that individual down to Nez Perce County, which is our new contracted jail, or B, cover the streets while the arresting officer takes them down. And our work hasn't slowed down. So last year we had 322 arrests, and that's about a 7% increase over 2024. So, it's something we're working with, but I don't actually have really firm numbers yet. These numbers that you see up here, that from October to December, we spent around $17,200 on transports alone. That is simply just employee pay, just man hours. It is for the on-call and it is for callback. I don't have the metrics yet for as much if this is increasing our maintenance, our fuel costs, things like that. I'm hoping to have those by this time next year when I present to y'all, but I just don't have them right now. But it is pretty important, I think, to point out that just from October to December, that was about 15% of our total annual overtime budget was on that. So, and then as you see down there at the bottom, our average is about $5,500 a month that we're currently incurring. So we're working through that. Drug enforcement, that has also been a pretty busy area. So Sergeant Snyder, one thing I want to point out here, Sergeant Snyder and K9 Ragnar went to the state K9 conference, which is kind of the big annual conference, and they actually won second of the entire state as a K9 team. So that was really cool that they won that. That's impressive. This year, K9 Ragnar had 30 deployments, resulting in 18 drug-related arrests just themselves. That doesn't count all the times that they were utilized with other officers on other things. As you can see there, we had quite the uptick in the amount of methamphetamine that we seized this year. And also, unfortunately, fentanyl and fentanyl pills were up. That is partly due to one very large case, which was great. It was a trafficking case, and that individual's facing some pretty significant consequences for that. And then, as you're all aware as well, thank you so much for approving our second K9. We are working on getting the car built right now, and we're working on getting a new K9 handler identified. So we're still working through that process. And then also I wanted to point out here, unfortunately, we had our first ever positive result for car fentanyl. It was a very small amount, but I knew it was going to happen at some point, but that we've seen that show up now as well. And if you're not familiar with car fentanyl, it is a much, much stronger synthetic form of fentanyl. So it's much more dangerous. Traffic enforcement worked really hard in traffic this year. We had worked with ITD as we do normally every year. We had 6 different opportunities to do some special mobilizations for things like impaired driving and distracted driving or seatbelt use, aggressive driving, those types of things. So through those, we had about 126 contacts and 25 citations were issued. And then our STEP program grant that we have been utilizing for the last few years, we also did that last year. It was just significant. It was reduced by quite a bit just because it is starting to be shared with more agencies around the state. So you can see there in my little graph, the numbers went down pretty significantly, and that was just due to the reduction. So we did about 760 hours of dedicated traffic enforcement, and that was to address aggressive and distracted driving and also crashes, things like that. And we also had an issue there. All the grants got frozen, if you recall, in spring of 2025. So there was quite a bit of time there where we were just in flux, didn't have anything going on there. And then at the bottom, you can see some of the narcotics that we were able to seize off of just the STEP program time that we worked. Training, I won't bore you with this very long, very small list.
But I need more acronyms, Chief.
We in law enforcement, we just love them. I mean, there's more every day, I swear. But we are definitely, as an agency, still trying our very best to put training first and to make sure that our officers are getting not only the basic needs met, but we want to go far above that with training. So our services division commander is working very hard in making that happen, and I applaud his efforts so far. Investigation unit, just cover that real quick. So there's basically 2, not counting our forensics detectives. And so for 2 of them to handle 132 cases last year is pretty daunting, especially because they're typically our larger cases, things that need a little bit more follow-up, a lot more leg work. Sometimes there's travel involved. And then as far as the supervision of the unit, that also changed. We had Detective Corporal Brett Payne, unfortunately left the department for other opportunities, but then we brought Sergeant Shane Gunderson off of operations, and he is now the investigative supervisor. We continue to have our 2 forensics detectives, Detective Fox and Mowry. They managed 86 cases themselves, typically dealing with internet crimes against children. And they also do just an amazing amount of work supporting the rest of our officers because, as you can imagine, there's not one crime today that doesn't have some sort of a technological piece to it. So they are just more and more in need as far as assisting with our investigations. But I also want to point out a couple of awards that they both won. The United States Department of Justice both gave Mowry and Fox awards for their work in the internet crimes against children world. They do an amazing amount of work for not only our community, but we also try to help our regional partners out as much as we can, and all of it is good work. Records and property. Of course, they managed every single case, every single citation, every single report that went through our office. That included 2,100 citations. And in bold there, which was the largest increase, was 2,386 FOIA requests. That is a 44% increase over 2024. And that is primarily due to the closing of the homicide case and having those records opened up. I can't even begin to thank Mia and her office for all of their diligent work. And we were walking through the fire together, as it were. So that was just very impressive. And then as far as actual pieces of evidence, we took in 1,700 pieces of evidence. Tim organized 1,700 pieces of those items, and also worked to stay on top of it, because we do have to, after a certain amount of time, if things are done adjudicated, we can't just keep stacking things on top of things. So we do have to get rid of them. And that's why you'll see that there's property destroyed there. Parking and code enforcement. I believe this is my last slide, and then we'll get to any questions if you have them. But they served 6,100, almost 6,200 parking citations last year, with the total fines of just shy of 168. No, I'm sorry, that's $167,000, and $9,100 coming from parking boots that are placed on vehicles that get 3 or more tickets that go unpaid. And then code enforcement had about 660 calls related to animals. Not a whole lot of snow-covered sidewalks this year, or last year either. So that number is pretty small, but he's also been very busy. So with that, I'll turn it over to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Drew just, you know what, I won't. The mic caught it. It's fine. Drew, anything you want to share?
I'm one of the boots.
And I'll own that I've been one of the parking tickets. It's fine. Yeah, I mean,
I
and
don't
I paid
want,
them.
I don't
It's
want to
fine.
talk about parking tickets.
Sorry,
But
did you have any questions or other comments?
I
Sorry.
did have a question. I'm just one, thank you for the presentation. Thanks for the work. And yeah, those numbers and drugs coming to our community are kind of shocking. So it's not easy work. One thing through the list of acronyms, now I'm just curious after I read one, not that it's an acronym, but it said radar and LiDAR. I'm just curious, what is the approach that you use for radar? Like, what is that LiDAR? Sorry, for LiDAR.
Oh yeah, those the two different technologies
Yeah.
for measuring speed. Radar works off of sound waves, and LiDAR uses a laser. So
Oh, so you're using LiDAR for speed.
it's for speed, yes. It's typically much more accurate as far as if you've got a lot of traffic, a high volume of traffic. It actually has a reticle on it that you can point directly at a vehicle, and it points the laser right at that vehicle, tells you what that vehicle is doing, rather than radar, which is more of a cone.
Right. Okay, that's good to know. I had no idea. Thank you.
Yep.
No other questions.
Okay, I love it. Scott, sure.
With transporting arrested people down to Lewiston, do you think it's had any impact on decisions to make arrests?
I believe so. Yes. When this first came out, the question was obviously asked, well, what is this going to mean? How is this going to look? And the bottom line is every single one of our officers is dedicated to keeping this community safe. And sometimes, unfortunately, people require to go to jail. And I would much rather incur some further costs and keep the community safe than the alternative to that.
But you don't think it's made a difference of whether an officer makes a decision to arrest somebody or not? Because, I mean, with that thought in mind of having to ship them down to Lewiston, do you think that has played into any?
Not of any significance that I've seen.
Okay.
I'm sure it has come to mind being out there, but no, I have not seen any. As you can see by the number of our arrests this year, we have not backed down on our efforts to make sure that our community is safe and holding people accountable when they need to be.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sage, sure.
Yeah, Chief, you'd and thanks again for presentation. You had mentioned I think it was from 2025, 9,000 as a figure. People hurt or maybe died from driving. Could you just revisit that? stat for
It
me?
was drunk driving.
Okay, drunk driving. And is that nationwide
Yes.
over the course of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
I believe that
then,
number came from NHTSA, if I'm not correct.
okay. And then, thank you.
Yeah,
And
there's
then-
another acronym for you, by the way.
And then
Bingo.
the other question I had for you was about the relatively new equipment and how that is working out so far. Everything working great?
We had a couple bumps in the road. I think that's going to happen anytime you roll out a new system, but now it seems to be working quite well, and officers are got it pretty well dialed in, I guess what I would say. But especially with the cameras, we went from a system that had in the vehicles more or less a standalone system of itself, had a whole nother screen, buttons. Now it's all on one spot, and so just kind of relearning this new way of utilizing it. But yeah, I think we're doing quite well.
Sandra.
Hi, Chief. I have two completely unrelated questions for you.
Sure.
And thanks again for being here. The first one I'm kind of piggybacking off of Scott's question, talking about the transport and the cost of that. Is that cost affecting other aspects of your budget or what you need from us or the county? How is that money figure working out when that's very unexpected for us?
Yeah, I think it's a little early to tell. We're just kind of dealing with it as it's come along this last year. We're trying our best to mitigate that. And our hope is that within the next year or so, God willing, I don't know if there's enough wood in here for me to knock on, but if we can get our staffing up to an appropriate level, we can actually alter the schedule that we are working. Because right now they're working 12-hour shifts. And at minimum staffing, it's only 3 officers per shift for the entire city. Not ideal. If we could bolster our numbers, we'll likely, it's not set in stone, but go back to what's called a 410 schedule. So we would have 3 shifts, a day shift, a swing shift, and a graveyard. Now, I think it's no shock that most of our arrests happen in nights and weekends when the current jail is closed. And then, just to caveat off that real quick. So that 322, I don't want to paint the picture as though every single one of those individuals had to be taken in Nez Perce County. I didn't have the exact number, but there were some that did happen during the daylight hours when the current holding facility is open and we're able to use that. So that has mitigated some of that cost. And now I lost my train of thought. Of course, see, I squirreled.
Going to 410s if
Correct.
possible.
Thank you very much. So if we're able to go to 410s, we will have not double coverage, but this overlap between swing shift and graveyard, which will allow us to do away with the on-call schedule. And we can handle, unless something major happens, transports as they occur just on regular duty time.
And then switching gears to kind of another thought, out of those 600 plus animal calls, I am really curious as to what conversations are being had. Like I'm sure a significant amount are dogs off leash or lost animals and you can't get the Humane Society. If there is like an animal off leash or chickens out that are supposed to be in, what kind of conversations are happening with the owners on those?
We rely heavily on education for as much as possible. I do have to say, I unfortunately have seen kind of an uptick. I don't have the numbers in front of me of the number of dogs at large and unfortunately vicious animals. Dog bites have been significantly up this last year. So those a little bit more serious circumstances get dealt with at a higher level, I would say. But for the most part, we try to rely on education, let folks know, hey, your dog was off leash. Sometimes it happens.
Sure.
Somebody leaves a gate open, dog runs out. We're understanding. We get that. If it starts becoming a chronic problem, then we have other ways of maybe helping that education along by the means of maybe a citation or even a written warning, those types of things.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Questions? Yeah, Brace.
Thank you, Chief, for being here. Appreciate it. And quick comment on the cadet program. I've had a handful of students that go through it, and they speak very highly of it, and it's always very fun to see them out and being excited to partner with you all in the various events that are out there. So congrats on that being a success, and I would hope that greater retention of them deciding to be part of MPD would happen. So yeah, crossing those fingers for sure.
Absolutely.
I do want to ask you because, especially a couple of months ago, I think many of us, at least I know I was, getting asked a lot about potential presence of ICE in the community, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And specifically in reference to the fact that this past year in the Idaho legislature, there were many bills that were going to potentially require local agencies to partner or uphold various responsibilities that ICE performs. And I'm curious, what would you like us to report to community members that ask us about ICE or ask us as to the pulse between and of the department as it relates to potentialities with ICE moving forward? I know that's a pretty open-ended question, but to whatever capacity you can speak to it, I'd be
Sure. I mean, to say I wasn't watching that potential legislation rather closely, I was. I'm also a member
Right.
of the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association, which we work diligently during the legislative session to try to kind of keep an eye on potential legislation that will affect law enforcement in the entire state. So those were high on our list. But what I can reiterate, and it's something that I know I've been asked several times myself, is that ICE is a federal agency. They are completely outside my scope of authority or purview, really. And that doesn't mean that we wouldn't potentially, the way I said it this way, whether it's the FBI, the CIA, all the acronyms,
Sure.
right, the three-letter agencies, if something is there was something going on in town that they needed additional resources, say in a tactical situation, to make sure that we could do it as safely as possible, we'd help anybody in that way. But other than that, we are not ICE agents. We are not federal government. We do not have the authority to enforce immigration law, and we're not in that business. So, conversely, I don't know what ICE is doing. They don't have to tell me what they're doing as well. But as far as our current status, we are here to take care of our community and police our citizens under state law and our city code, and that's what we're doing.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate you taking that conversation with candor and honesty, just because I think we all have been asked, various iterations of that. So I appreciate your willingness. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions for Chief Evan? Sure.
Yeah, first of all, I mainly want to thank you for your efforts, not just coming here tonight to talk to us and the public and bring us all up to speed to what you're doing, because all of us like it when you're invisible, really, because that means you're doing a very effective job. If we don't hear about you, so that works well. You missed an opportunity to coin another acronym with LMTOT, lost my train of thought. You could have used there. So I want to introduce that one into the lexicon so that you can.
I'll put it in there so I can forget it
Yeah,
later.
so you
Order
use
the
it
hats.
with-
Order the
with-
hats.
Excellent.
With the other ones.
And then my one question is, if there's been changes in Idaho State Patrol hours personnel, has that affected your ability or do you really get involved in motor vehicle accident investigations? Is that something that you count on help from them for, that has changed at all, or am I getting off base there?
No, I think I understand your question. There has been a significant reduction in ISP troopers in Region 2, so out of Lewiston there, to the point where actually at one point I didn't think they had any road troopers at all, and they were bringing troopers in from other areas of the state to work the highways. It sounds like I heard from my troops the other day that they do have a new resident trooper who just got off FTO. So we do have one. That's good. But no, so motor vehicle accidents that occur within the city of Moscow, 99.999% of them we handle. Mainly what we do is if we had the unfortunate circumstance where we had a fatality crash, that typically we will try to lean on ISP because they have some specialized training, specialized units rather, that are designed for that. And quite frankly, I think those are kind of regional as well. So if we did have one of those, they'd probably pull somebody from Coeur d'Alene. But other than our normal traffic enforcement, I haven't really noticed too much.
So no impacts. That's good to hear. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up is I thought Counselor Kelly was going to, when she was asking about animal calls, she was thinking that the animals were making calls and she was going to turn in her dog for being ornery. But,
Beatrice is not that smart. I love her, but
no, once again, thank you very much.
Of course.
Any other questions for Chief Sage?
what do you foresee that maybe we should be apprised of for, upcoming financial challenges or requests over the next year? Anything that should be on the radar?
None that come to mind. I'm trying very diligently to be very responsible in that nature, and
Of course.
the council's been so very supportive of us in the continuing even now. But we're just kind of holding steady at the moment. Honestly, a lot of it, we're just trying to see what this is going to look like long term, especially with things like the jail. And our focus is so heavily on getting up to staffing. That's just really our primary concern in-house right now.
Last call. Groovy. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item 7 on our agenda is the 2026 City of Moscow Water Conservation Plan updates. I see Tyler Palmer and I see Kelly Cooper here to share, and there is an action item before us. But first, the overview. Hi, Tyler. Welcome.
Madam Mayor, Council, so happy to be here this evening to discuss a really important topic, which is the updates to our water conservation plan. This is something the staff's been working on for quite some time, and we're really excited to have it before the council this evening. There's a quote that's commonly attributed to Jefferson that's, "You'll know the value of water when the well runs dry." And I think that water being the ultimate and quintessential common pool resource, it's something that we share inherently, that everybody has a straw in the same cup. And so it's something that it's very important that we manage it responsibly. And I think that everybody on the council I know is aware, and many in the community, that we draw all of our domestic supply from the Palouse Basin groundwater system. And that's a system that's been in decline since the late 1800s when it was first tapped. The story of why any city is where it is in the world is a story of water. Spin a globe, point a finger. The reason it's there is because of the availability of fresh water. The Palouse sometimes isn't as obvious as to why. There's not a big body of water. We don't have a big lake. We don't have a big river. But what we did have were artesian wells. And artesian wells are wells that when you pop through an impermeable layer, a clay layer in our case, the water just comes out of the ground. There was a well in Pullman in the late 1800s that was producing 3 million gallons per day, just spewing out of the ground. And so that got people really excited. And so, they were really looking for ways to establish their claims, the northern claims in the case of the state of Idaho and their eastern claims in the state of Washington. And so that's why the land-grant universities ended up here, was because of this supply of water. But almost immediately, as more and more wells started to be dug, the water level went down and down and down. And so that's something that we continue to combat. And so it's really, really crucial that water conservation's absolutely imperative. Anywhere in the West, I think sometimes in the Northwest, we get a misperception that we just have tons of water. We don't. It's just not the case. And we are also subject to the same climate conditions, that we're seeing shifting climates where we see a shift in patterns that influence our water supply. In our case, we've seen a shift to less snow and more rain. We've had 5 of our 6 largest flood events on Paradise Creek in the last decade. We have a system that has limited recharge, but the recharge that we do have is largely predicated on snowpack on Moscow Mountain, slowly percolating down through the soils and making its way down into our aquifer. So it's just, conservation is absolutely critical. And it's important that we all as a community recognize that it's not just a matter of, well, can I afford a higher water bill, therefore I'm going to maintain a half acre of golf course green grass. It's about how do we, as a community, take responsibility for that community resource. And that's the goal of this conservation plan. It has been the goal of the City of Moscow's water conservation plan. We've had successful water conservation for a lot of years. The community deserves a lot of credit. We've seen actually a decrease in per capita water use and a decrease in overall pumping since 1992. So despite a population growth of over 35%, we have our water pumping is 4% lower. And so that's incredible. That really is a really good number. I always temper that a little bit by reminding folks that we're in the state of Idaho, and Idaho has the highest per capita use in the United States. And then Idaho happens to be in the United States of America, which has the highest per capita use in the world. So we are what I like to call the best of the worst of the worst. So we do pretty good for the state of Idaho, but let's keep it in context. We're not going to go patting ourselves on the back too hard, but there's room for improvement. And I think what you'll see in the plan that we're bringing before you tonight, is a real focus on trying to really target some of the outdoor irrigation and incentivize that. trying to optimize existing programs so that we continue to get our bang for the buck with these programs. What's coming before you isn't a proposal for any sort of increase in the traditional budget amounts for this program. It really is just an optimizing of the programs themselves and introduction of some new programs to try and make that more effective. And so really the initiatives that we've had in place have done what we want them to do. They're tailing off in use because we've hit a lot of those customers. And so what we're trying to do is gain new audiences for our water conservation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Cooper. Kelly works in our environmental services department and has been just the key author and person who's done a lot of work on this program, and have her explain what we're proposing for the updates.
How to make it. How do I make it go up there though?
You just got to unmute.
Just gotcha.
I can remember which button. Which button? Remember?
Corey's coming to rescue me.
Thank
you, Corey.
The mute button.
Just conserving energy.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. Yeah.
Let them dare fall asleep back.
Perfect. Okay. So thank you for that lovely introduction, Tyler. And I get to talk about all the fun stuff. So first, just to kind of give you an overview of what our plan currently has in it and what we currently do. We kind of have six elements into our water conservation programs. We have our 2 rebate programs for Y-scape rebates. So that's converting traditional turf to a Y-scape or xeriscaping. We have our fixture rebates to convert toilets. Conservation devices we hand out to the public. These are just free water saving devices that we hand out just to help people save without thinking about it. Policy changes, that's things like our policies, that's things like our irrigation season, our tiered rate system, etc. Operational changes, that's things we do in-house. So when we choose which well to use, how to operate our system, leak detection, those sorts of things. And of course, a big piece is public education. So first, public outreach. The point of this is to shift behavior, which is the hardest in any sort of conservation effort. And the way to make it happen is to really hit them from everywhere all the time. And so we have a big presence at tabling events. We do a lot of classroom lessons and workshops. This year, we actually had our first Fix a Leak workshop at the library. It was attended by about 15 people. So that's pretty exciting. We do tours for the public and for classrooms, and then we do things like our social media and newsletters. Our devices program is our oldest program. I believe it started in about 2007. We've given out something around 30,000 devices so far over the course of this program. It's largely focused on indoor use, which is something we hope to shift with these updates. And our toilet rebate program, again, really successful, as Tyler already alluded. We've done 681 households and commercial participants thus far. We're saving about 1.82 gallons on average per flush with those changes. And so you can kind of see that little thin green bar. That's our cumulative water savings. That big fat green bar in the middle, that's actually 2020 when we had 3 separate hotels change out all their toilets. So obviously they didn't have a whole lot of business in 2020. So they took advantage of our programs to really, really shift that water use for themselves. But you can also see, as Tyler alluded, we've kind of seen some reduced participation over time. Same with our Y-scape rebate program. So we had some really initial, we had some good starts. Again, our cumulative water savings is on that line. But again, we're kind of tailing down. So we've had a little less participation here with 121 participants. And for every square foot we change out, we save about 1/3 of a gallon of water. So our newest program that we just added, 2022 officially, we kind of had a soft launch. And since then, it's just it's every year I do more and more. That first full year, we did 48 of these irrigation audits. And this is both an educational piece. So a lot of what these involve is really just teaching people about their systems, how to use them efficiently, but it's also finding inefficiencies they might not have known were there. The amount of leaks I found on systems that you would never see is quite amazing. So it's twofold. We get both sides of that. So overall, as Tyler said, we're seeing success. So if you look at this, we've got about a 15% drop in monthly pumping from that first initial 4-year period when water conservation really started being tracked. And so but we've still got a lot of ways to go. That spike in the middle, of course, is our summer months. So that's where we get our outdoor use. And so the idea is to try and flatten the curve. So we really need to start tackling that outdoor piece. So where do we go from here? So the proposed program updates include some new construction incentives. So we have some for toilets already, but they've been really underutilized. It's been maybe 5 in the entire time we've had these programs. And so we're going to increase the amount a little bit. So right now I think it caps out at $50. We're going to go up to 100, partially to account for inflation, because that amount was established in 2016 and things are a lot more costly now, but also to try and push it beyond not just code, which is 1.6 gallons per flush still in Idaho, but beyond even the market, which is 1.28. Is pretty standard to be installed in new construction now. So we're hoping to kind of push it beyond that to the lowest technology at 1.1. Fixed rebate modifications, so again, kind of adjusting for inflation, so up to $200 from the 125, but this also adds another tier to the rebate to include that lowest per flush model that we can get. Device program updates, those are largely, we'll be trying to add some things for that outdoor space. Right now we do have sprayers and they're called rain gauges, but beyond that, we don't really have a whole lot to offer in the outdoor space. And so this will be one of those things that we'll tackle to try and get some more outdoor savings for people. And then we have the Wisegate rebate modifications. This will be the biggest shift. Right now, our rebates for Wisescape are $150 flat rate for doing 300 square feet or more. Even in 2016, $150 is pretty much nothing for making a conversion for your lawn. And so what we'd like to do is move to a per square foot model. So we'll do the initial 300 square feet at that flat rate. We'll keep that 150. But then beyond that, 300 square feet or more, we'll go to a per square foot model. So 301 square feet, you get 75 cents for that extra foot. Up to a cap. So we have a cap for single family residences of $2,500 a year. And then commercial properties will be $5,000. And then there'll be a bonus built into that for the green strips. So the strips between, or tree lawns, between your sidewalks and your streets, which are highly inefficient no matter what kind of sprinkler system you put in there for grass. So we'd really like to target that specifically. And then we'll add a rebate for the instant hot water valves. So these are a device that goes on your hot water heater, and and then you put in a kind of a link, I guess, between your hot and your cold at the farthest away sink. So it kind of keeps the water in your hot water lines warm all the time. So you're not having to turn it on, let the water run to get hot. It'll get hot much faster. So we can save a lot of water there. And then develop a site-specific rebate for businesses. So this one, the idea here is target the outcome, not the actual specific method. So Moscow is big enough to have a variety of businesses with a variety of water uses, but not large enough to have enough businesses of any one type to do a prescriptive program like a toilet rebate program. And so this would be incentivizing a business to make those water efficiency upgrades, but also still get some of that rebate, similar to what Avista does with their energy efficiency upgrades for commercial properties. What exactly that looks like is yet to be determined, but we're going to take a close look at that and see what makes sense for Moscow and within the current budget. And then, of course, updates to the Wisescape guidebook. It's a useful document, but there are a lot of things that have changed since 2016 within the city for some of its environmental goals and regulations it needs to meet. And there's been a lot of feedback from the public on things that they would find useful to be in this document that currently aren't. So really, it's just about condensing that information into one usable piece of information. And with that, questions?
Love it. Any questions for Kelly? Sandra, go for it.
In your education work, Kelly, because I see you do so much education work all over here, I swear even in Pullman, which I really appreciate. Have you been working on anything or currently working on like rain barrels and water barrels and trying to help people figure out where to put them and what to do with them at all? Or is that something you haven't hit yet?
We haven't quite hit that yet, and partially it's because we haven't found that we'll get a lot of bang for our buck with rain barrels. That's why we don't have a rebate program for them. The time that we need that extra irrigation is the time when it's not raining here. And so I do have a demonstration of one and how it could work at the water, the Public Works and Services building. And I'm happy to talk to anybody who has questions about it. I know a lot about them. In some capacities, they can work great. But
Nope, thank you. I appreciate that.
Questions? Evan, if you're ready.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
sure.
good.
Just, I already know this, but it's just worth emphasizing that, and you alluded to it, that low flush toilets from 2012 and before, especially the 1.6, are eligible for replacement for new low flush models, because that, a lot of people think, well, we did that. And actually you can do it again, get a rebate again, especially with the 1.1 gallon flushers. Other thing I wanted to bring up is the city of Moscow is converting water meters here. It'll be a year and a half or two before they're all done, which will allow individuals to monitor their own water meter use. Of course, the city can do it, which allows us to move closer to a water budget, but individuals can monitor even hour by hour their own water use with the new meters, which we're actively replacing right now. So the public can partner with us to a much greater degree than has been possible in the past. So no question there. I guess I answered it for you.
Well, although I do have a question, because I was under the impression that a lot, while the metering conversations and the multi-year meter replacements that other City Evan has come before us to talk about, and this may be more of a Tyler question, I can't tell. I was pretty sure that most of the metering changes were for our own monitoring, but that's also because the utilities aren't in my name at my house, so they're in my husband's name. So it's possible that I'm not watching as closely as I should, but
We're currently in what we're calling our beta phase of installation, and we're a little bit ahead of schedule. And so we thought we'd be right around 700 meters installed right now, and we're at 1,100. The water department's done a really great job getting out and getting them in. We do have a public portal with these new meters. And so that public portal has an app that people can then download, and they will have the ability to set parameters. They can kind of set a water budget where it'll alert them if they go over a certain amount. It also has a lot of leak detection technology that's in it. So that's really great. It'll be great for both, single family homeowners, property managers who want to kind of keep an eye and know if they've got a leak and maybe what might be a vacant unit. So there will be a lot of additional tools that we'll be able to use. We had a meeting just last week preparing for the launch of the public portal. Now that we have 1,100 in the ground, we want to do a really strategic launch of that public portal to make sure we have a good education packet and help people understand how they can interface with that. And so we anticipate doing a pilot rollout of that public portal here in probably the next 6 months.
love that. Bryce.
Yeah, thank you both, and yeah, thank you so much, Kelly, for all the work that you've done here. I'm curious, and I'm remembering conversations. Let me back up. Does the city have anything in plan or kind of connected to this conservation plan, were it to be the case that, let's say, for instance, we go through a really, really hot and dry summer and people still want to water their yards? I ask this question as it relates to, I believe, doesn't Pullman have an alternating day schedule as it relates to
Yes.
watering? And what would it take for Moscow to potentially get to that point of implementing something like that?
I think right now we are kind of waiting to see how Pullman's works out, because if we can see a significant amount of savings that way, that might be something we'll explore more in depth. But right now that we don't have the kind of the data backup that will work. But there's also a piece where we don't really have a way to enforce it. The new AMI meters will allow us to do some of that. And so that's something that we can kind of revisit
Kind
in
of
the
done on
future.
goodwill.
But I also want to add, to our credit, Pullman for the last 20 years that Moscow has had a limited watering hour schedule during the daytime. Like Moscow adopted that 20 years ago. Pullman just did at the same time that they did their alternating day schedule. So for what it's worth, like I've been pretty, even though I love getting the chance to learn from our neighboring community, but it's also really cool, and we should pat ourselves on the back for the last 20 year ago idea that's stuck. But
Do you have anything you wanted to add to that, Tyler? Perfect.
That was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Drew. Okay.
No, I just appreciate what you're doing, trying to increase just people doing it more frequently, you know, and making it incentivizing the program. For all the reasons that you named, I don't need to repeat those, and can't remember every single one. But I just think it's great that we are we're trying to help people, we're educating people, and I'm going to be having a conversation with you shortly, not here, but because we're doing it to our property. So thank you.
Awesome.
Sage, sure, yeah.
I've got a question. So you had mentioned the launch of this instant hot water valve system for hot water heaters.
Correct.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? I'm particularly interested in this.
Yeah. So you can get them on, when I was looking up to see if the rebate amount that was originally proposed. So this was actually originally proposed in 2016 as part of a larger package that was not adopted at that time. And when I was taking a look back through some of those to see what we could add now that we have the room in the budget, I wanted to look and see if that number of $50 was still worth it, because prices have changed. And so I started looking at them, and you can get them on Amazon for about $140. They really are just a little thing that pretty much sits right on top of your hot water tank. And then there's just a little piece of like flex pipe that connects your hot and your cold at your farther away sink, and you just plug it in and turn it on. As far as I can tell, it's really easy to install. Even
Follow up. This sounds like something that's very DIY.
It-
Perhaps
it
even more
appears
than
to
a
be
toilet
a-
install.
Yeah, no kidding.
yes, based on the videos I've watched of them being installed, they look pretty DIY friendly. Of course, I'm sure a plumber would be able to help you out too.
And then follow-up question. So with the excellent list of proposed changes to your rebate programs and water conservation plans, do you have any forecasted sense of water savings impact as a result of those?
I do for the hot water rebates, because that work was done by Nicole Baker, my predecessor. Really, we're hoping to just expand on what we currently see. So we anticipate kind of keeping that 1.8 per toilets, but just increasing the number that we've got changed out. It might go up if we can get more people to do the 1.1s or those lower flush ones. The same thing for that lawn rebate. I mean, the amount that we're using to calculate our estimated savings is not going to change. We just need to change the number of square feet. So the higher we can push that number, the higher the water savings will be.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
One very
Scott, what
quick.
do you have?
New construction incentives. At what part of the process is that relate to new developers or contractors, people building homes? Like, is that coming up in the building plan review where they're discussing some of those incentives? Or would they be if those are, again, I think those are new incentives, right?
No, so the new construction toilet rebate actually exists now. And has existed since over the life of the program. And I think that's been the biggest problem, is that there was no good communication between the city and that being offered and the contractors. And so what we've done is we've actually kind of created a piece to add into the energy conservation worksheet that it's my understanding anyway from community development that all the contractors will see, that kind of goes through and says, this is what code is. Everybody should know what that is. This is kind of where the market piece is, and this is kind of our city preferred. And then that's where we're communicating. There's rebates available for this. There's free devices available from city for this. Because ultimately it's cheaper and easier, and we get a better water savings if it's installed initially rather than having to wait to change it out after we've had this increased use.
Good question. Do you have a follow-up?
That was
Okay, great. Any other questions for Kelly? Evan, sure.
No, I just want to once again thank Tyler and Kelly and make a motion that we approve the 2026 Water Conservation Plan.
Second.
I have a motion from Evan and a second from Bryce, any further discussion before we go down the list? Okay. Sage.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Bryce.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
And Evan.
Aye.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kelly.
Kelly.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
And last item on our agenda before reports, we have the public records classification and retention resolution and city code updates with our city attorney, Mia Bautista. And there is an action item before us, but we'll have Mia take us through the proposed updates. Welcome, Mia.
Thank you. All right, Mayor Lewis, City Council. By way of background, the city is required to follow Title 74, Chapter 1 of Idaho Code, which is known as the Public Records Act. You'll see a reference to IPRA in the slide, Idaho Public Records Act. And that, as you know, is amended from time to time. And so part of the updates that's being proposed is to implement revisions that's consistent with the changes that have been made in the Idaho Code and with our city's current processes that we adopt from time to time by way of resolution. The city also follows Idaho Code 50-907 as it relates to the classification, retention, and destruction of public records. And again, like I said, that's done by way of resolution. And so the proposed amendments should capture all of the amendments that have been made to the Public Records Act to date, in addition to being consistent with the resolutions that the city has adopted. So I'll first take you through the revisions to Moscow City Code Title 1, Chapter 10, and take you through the various sections where we're recommending changes. So Section 10.1, right now we spell out a definition of city records that's different from what's in the Idaho Public Records Act. And so we revised the definition to basically just refer to the city, to that definition in the Public Records Act, and to reflect the existing practice right now by way of the resolutions that the City Council adopts from time to time. Section 10.4, the records management responsibilities. In there, it had a lot of detail regarding basically the city clerk's responsibilities with records management in various departments. And so we removed some of those specific job duties, added more general responsibilities, and added a reference that the record shall be maintained as required by the Idaho Public Records Act and any other city code and state code that is pertinent to any of those responsibilities. Section 10.5, we are proposing amendments based on just changes of job descriptions. And so we're getting away from calling people department heads and referencing them as department heads in city code. And so that change just changes department head to department manager. And then Section 10.10, electronic mail. We wanted to remove the specific reference to a 2-year retention because the retention schedule is set by resolution, and you'll see additional amendments we plan on making to that further in this presentation. But wanted to remove this specific time frame and just make reference to the records retention resolution adopted by City Council. And again, there was another title change from department director to department manager. And then Section 10.15, accessibility of records. The city no longer uses microfilm, and so just wanted to get rid of that outdated reference. And then the Public Records Act was amended to allow for a fee charge where the city is permitted to charge a different fee for non-residents versus residents. And so we wanted to make sure to address that any fee would be charged as permitted by the Public Records Act and as provided in the fee resolution adopted by City Council. And I believe I missed one there. And Section 10.16, disclosure of public records, just added that a request for public records shall comply with the requirements of the Idaho Public Records Act, and then remove the reference to faxes because we just don't utilize that. And it's not as efficient for the public to send public records requests through facsimile. And so happy to answer any questions about that ordinance or pose for questions regarding all of it at the end. Okay. So then moving on to the resolution repealing and replacing resolution 2021-27, which is our records retention, classification, and destruction resolution. Some of the key changes mainly pertains to adding a retention schedule for law enforcement media recordings, which is similar to what the county has as provided in Idaho Code 31871. There is a Scrivener error in the resolution that you have. I missed it. It says 31781. The numbers got mixed around. It's 31871. We also added media recordings for city buildings as a transitory record, and then added ALPR is automated license plate reader data. There was an amendment to the Idaho Code that allows use of that, but in a very limited way, and then specifically prescribes what you do with that data. And so this resolution addresses those changes that were made to the Idaho Code. So walking through the resolution, the semi-permanent records, we clarified that grant records to be maintained under the semi-permanent record was for funded grants. Just wanted to add that clarification. We added temporary access and construction easement records and added EEOC and workers' compensation claims to semi-permanent records. So we did not remove anything that was in the previous resolution. We just added a few more items. The changes to temporary records, we didn't remove anything. We added public record responses. So we had requests, but wanted to also add responses to this temporary record list. And then added electronic and written correspondence that was related to city business. Records that are unrelated to city business, you will see in the transitory section. And then we added everything listed 15 through 23 is new. And then the new section, this is the big one. The new section regarding law enforcement media recording. So like I said, it mirrors what is in Idaho Code for counties, which basically has a retention schedule for recordings. They define with evidentiary value. So there's definitions in there that define what evidentiary value means and which ones are not. And the ones with evidentiary value were required to maintain for 200 days. If they do not have evidentiary value and they are not attached to a building, it's 60 days. And if it does not have evidentiary value and is attached to a building, that's 14 days. And then all those terms are defined. The changes to the transitory items, we did not remove anything. We just made the correction that the electronic and written correspondence would be unrelated to city business, and then added the two areas that I discussed as media recordings. So, what that is like cameras that are attached to any other city building. So this would be separate from the cameras attached to a law enforcement building. So as long as those do not have any sort of law enforcement purpose, then that would be considered transitory item. And then the automated license plate reader data that does not meet the requirements for a law enforcement purpose would be permitted to be deleted under this transitory item retention schedule. And so the proposed action in front of you is to oppose the repeal and replacement of Resolution 2021.
Oppose or approve? Approve it?
I'm sorry.
You said oppose. I just wanted to make sure we were.
Approve.
Okay, great.
Approve
Sorry.
the repeal and replacement of Resolution 2021-27. And approve the proposed amendments to the Records Management Policies and Procedures Ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that the ordinance be read by title and published by summary, or consider the ordinance on first reading, or take such other action as you deem appropriate. Happy to answer any
Up to and
questions you may have.
up to and including opposing if anyone
Yes.
wants to, but Mia says
Thank you.
we recommend approval. Okay, I love it. Questions, comments, discussion. Bryce.
Yeah, thank you, Mia. And I would imagine, just given the nature of the scope of what was done here, that a lot of eyes on a lot of screens, and so I just appreciate your diligence in going through this. I am curious, just for memory's sake, remind me where videos are stored. Like, what is the cloud service that we contract with for these records?
I don't have that sort of data.
So it's currently stored with WatchGuard. So WatchGuard was our previous vendor. We've now shifted to Axon.
That's right.
I think we have somewhere around 85 terabytes of data that is currently in WatchGuard. And so that's been one of the drivers to create a retention schedule for law enforcement digital media, is to not have to transition a lot of old videos that have no value to any case, and to establish new retention standards so we're not paying exorbitant storage fees moving forward.
Thank you.
Did that answer
That
that
did.
question?
Yep.
Okay.
Just wanted some more clarity on that and jogging to the memory. So thank you.
Steve, what do you have?
Thanks, Mia, for the presentation on the changes. I had a question about, you had touched on differences in fees between citizens and non-citizens. Could you just touch on that for context?
Yeah, so the legislature amended the code to allow for not only a change of fees for residents versus non-residents, but also change the time frame by which we're required to respond and provide records. So for Idaho residents, we have to respond within 3 working days and provide the record within 10. And they are allowed to have the first 2 hours for free, and then any staff time to continue processing their public records request and preparing it for release, which includes review for any exempt information, and then remove that exempt information from the record before we provide it. The Public Records Act requires that we charge at the lowest qualified staff time rate to that Idaho resident. So it doesn't matter that maybe the highest paid person within that division is the one who prepared the record. We have to charge at the lowest qualified rate for that public record request. And then for non-residents, we are permitted to charge our actual cost for processing the request. And I believe the time frame for responding is we have to respond ultimately, is it 21 days? And then 35 days to provide the record.
Which, and like the context when that was going through the legislature was, if I recall, because it's been a few years, was it makes sense for Idaho entities to prioritize responding to the citizens and or the residents, to Evan's point, that are paying for those structures to be in place, whereas triaging in the case of very large ones, TikTok detectives and otherwise.
Outside media
Yeah.
entities.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
non-residents. Okay.
Which in a lot of I would say has been a pretty helpful thing, at least for your team, hopefully, as far
Yes.
as eating the elephant one bite at a time, or a vegan elephant one bite at a time.
Okay, thanks, Mia. And one other question I had was on just a little more information on the attached to a building versus not. I just kind of want to understand that. So you touched on it being, law enforcement versus a city building and how that.
So,
relates. Can you just touch on that in here?
yeah, so any cameras that the city may have or plans to put in place. So the device will record 24 hours, 24/7 worth, and usually stores. You could set the parameters of how much data it will store. So you could choose 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. And so what this resolution proposes is that any of those media recordings that come from a camera installed on a non-law enforcement city building is transitory. So it would be permitted to be deleted or taped over on whatever time schedule set by administration. Mhm.
Other questions? Drew?
Yeah, more just a comment. I'm glad that we're tightening, not tightening, but just formalizing a lot of these things, and I think improving efficiencies. I'm always a fan of, and so to Bryce's note, there's been a lot of eyes on screens and figuring things out, and sounds like a lot. So thank you.
Evan, do you have something?
Yeah. First, thank you very much for this. And I can understand why we save the best for last in our busy council meeting today. I had a question, and it'll jump over to Mr. Belknap, and that is, does this create for us some budget concerns because we're now going to be renting cloud storage for this? And also, are those concerns, are there any monetary ones, actual amounts, or the ability to predict what it's going to cost for us to effectively store and legally store data?
Bill?
Your Honor, so this is actually to help us avoid budgetary cost. So creating this retention standard and reducing the retention standard for law enforcement digital media will help us stay within the amount of storage that we are allotted with the new Axon system. Absent this, then we would be facing additional data storage costs. So this is honestly to help us avoid that expense in the future. If we can retain on this schedule, then we don't expect to have any additional costs, and we should be able to remain within the allotted cloud storage we have on the Axon system.
Just to add to this, prior to this proposal, there's been body cam footage that's kind of just been in limbo because we don't want to, it falls on the umbrella of a public record, but we did not have it included within our public records definition in such a way that made it easy for us to not sit with how many 85 terabytes.
85 terabytes in our prior provider WatchGuard. We were just kind of on an unlimited, kind of a grandfathered unlimited storage plan. And so there was no motivation for us. We have beyond body cams, which really didn't launch till 2021, 22. We've got vehicle camera footage that's decades old. So we just have this because it's been there. It's been on this unlimited storage. But as we're transitioning vendors, and all vendors, it's not unlimited any longer. And Axon was kind of shocked when we said, well, we've got 85 terabytes of data we'd like to integrate in the system. They said, that's not possible.
And actually, to bring this full circle to our previous agenda item about water conservation, if we were asking about storage cloud and things, data storage is a huge consumer of water for cooling reasons. So if you're not excited about not having 85 terabytes of data, maybe there's a dotted line connection and an invisible through line to us helping conserve some water. So
Relates to Earth Day too. There, we got them all
it's all
tied
connected.
together.
It's all connected, as it always is. Any other questions? Sage, sure.
Yeah. Could you remind me what the requirement is for public record retention and all this? Since we're on the topic of data storage, just curious what the time frames are for
outside of these mediums,
body cam footage, law enforcement video, whatever the case may be.
So the proposed resolution includes within it certain categories for permanent, semi-permanent, temporary, and transitory. And so the city records encompasses all types of records, including some of our law enforcement recordings. So it could fit in a variety of mostly semi-permanent, temporary, and then transitory, and then the law enforcement recordings will have its own component. So it just depends on what it is and where it is in the life of if it became a criminal case and how that evolved, where it's at in that process, and whether it was a felony or a misdemeanor. Is it something that was an infraction or a code enforcement that has a different retention period? So it really depends on what type of record it is. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yep. And we adopt a resolution. Is it the annually kind of sort of, yeah. So there's a, yes, for destruction. So one there, at a regular cadence, we will see a resolution that we will review that in that sort of like rolling timeline of when things roll off outside of that window. We then have the chance to formally authorize the destruction of those records as they like roll outside the scope. So it's kind of cool to see like, okay, this is the retention scope. And it makes sense from statutory transparency, accountability reasons that we also see on the tail end, the destruction of records side of that. And I can't remember the last time, I think it was last fall maybe that we did one. So you will see one probably in your first year on council.
So it'll be like a giant one of like 48 terabytes of data. Was that first one?
That's a good point. Yeah,
If I'm
sure.
underneath this resolution, you're authorizing the chief of police to independently destroy records that are beyond the retention period. So this will become the one exception because this is it's essentially a 60-day continuing window. It's not really effective for us to be bringing a resolution to the council that frequently.
Right.
So this resolution authorizes the chief of police to
doing
destroy
specific.
the digital media so long as it's not of evidentiary value and it's met the criteria. All other records, so permanent, you won't see destruction requests because they're permanent in perpetuity. Semi-permanent is 5 years, temporary is 2 years, and then transitory is whatever we define that to be. So you'll see things that fall into that semi-permanent or temporary more often than not, that once it's permanent applications, from 2021 through, 2023, if it's a temporary record and then it meets that classification, you'll see resolutions for destruction at that point in time.
Yes, sir. I loosely jumped in and combined all the three categories, but it is cool when you see the destruction of records. It's because it's for the things that fall outside of what we're currently fine tuning. So yes, Evan.
Madam Mayor, if it, I think it might be better to do these as two separate motions, and so I'd like to move first.
Do they have to be two separate? Can I ask?
Well, just for clarity, it's
I guess I see and on the proposed action. So
just one's a resolution, one's an ordinance. So to keep it clear, otherwise I'm happy to make a motion.
It could be either way, the council. I mean, it might be cleaner because the ordinance has special language regarding suspension of the
enough.
rules. So if we want to do two separate motions, one for resolution ordinance, that's fine.
okay,
Yeah,
Evan,
with-
stick to your gut. Then I
Yeah, with
rescind
that-
my friendly comment.
All right. With that, I move that we approve the repeal and replacement of resolution 2021-27 with the new resolution as proposed.
I have a motion from Evan. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Sage. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Evan,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Bryce,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
and Sage.
Aye.
Okay, so that repeal and replacement, which is going to be resolution, as I'm scrolling, resolution 2, right? Nope, ordinance 2. Next, this is the next one. I'm ready
We're so
with my
ready.
itty bitty text on my phone. Okay, sorry. So are you feeling some type of way again, Evan?
Well, it just occurred to me that I could also move to approve the proposed amendments to the record management policies and procedures and ask that we suspend the rules requiring 3 complete readings and that you read the ordinance by title and publish by summary.
Second.
Motion from Evan, second from Sandra. Any further discussion? Okay, Sandra.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Evan.
Aye.
Bryce.
Aye.
Sage.
Aye.
And Scott.
Aye.
Okay, and so this will be ordinance 2026-2. Okay. Shuffle my pages and let me zoom in on this. Left my laptop in the back. Ahem. When did you know you needed to have reading glasses?
Right now.
Okay, this is the sign. Okay. Ordinance number 2026-02, an ordinance of by title, great. An ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for the amendment of Moscow City Code, Title I, Chapter 10, specifically amending Section 10-1, modifying the definition of city records to match the definition of public records under the Idaho Public Records Act, modifying Section 10-4 to remove certain city clerk duties and include the city clerk shall follow the Idaho Public Records Act and resolutions adopted by City Council for records retention periods, modifying Section 10-5 to update the reference to department heads to department managers, modifying Section 10-10, removing the 2-year retention period for email and replacing it with the records retention adopted by City Council resolution, modifying section 10-15, removing the reference to microfilm, and modifying section 10-16, adding the city may require a request for public records comply with the requirements contained in the Idaho Public Records Act, and removing the provision allowing requests to be submitted by facsimile, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Okay, groovy. Did I do that
Beautiful.
right? Okay, love it. Cool. That brings us to reports.
Do we have to vote?
Nope, we do. Did we vote? We voted on both.
Okay.
I did vote on both. No, I panicked too. Great.
We don't want you to have to read it all
Thank
over
you,
again.
Mia. I do it again if you need me to. I'm happy to. Okay, reports. We will popcorn and start with Council President Drew. What do you have?
Not a terrible amount. I have been traveling for work, and so farmers market missed that meeting, but they are doing well. Sent an email, didn't hear anything back, but we're pretty close to first market coming up. So get ready. It's an exciting time for the farmers market. It's always a good weekend when that launches. And a lot of work from our staff. So appreciative of that. Other than that, just attended a variety of different meetings, other community events that really don't pertain to council. So I'm not going to really dwell on those, but it's good to be on the community and be active on that. And looking forward to my next commitments coming up. So.
Thank you, Drew. Okay, Council VP Bryce, what do you have to share?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I've got a longer list than Drew this time, but I will try to be condensing as well. So last week attended Public Works, so we heard some stuff tonight from. Also last week attended council leadership at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning of last week, and we all showed up and we were efficient
and decided that will be the new time.
I would like to push back on that, but happy to throw an every now and again in there. Also last Wednesday attended the Association of Idaho Cities district meeting at the Best Western. Really great just to hear from the Association of Idaho Cities director Kelly Packard, and also just kind of hear what was happening for the legislative recap along with other presentations. Also that same day attended the legislative recap from our state house reps, Brandon Mitchell and Lori McCann, hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, right? Also in the Best Western. So I walked about 20 steps and heard from them. And that was a well-attended event and good to hear kind of what they had to say about this last session in the Idaho legislature. Attended PBAC last week. So happy to see Aaron here. And again, congratulations. Well deserved on the Earth Day Award. Yeah. How were you phrasing it earlier? Doesn't matter. Winners.
Yeah, I can't, recipients. I
Thank
feel
you.
like it's
Yes.
wrong to call it
Yes.
winner, right?
But yeah, congratulations again. So, and the work that PBAC's doing continues to be impressive and necessary. So appreciative of the team there. And last week on Friday, I spoke and participated and welcomed the folks that showed up for the downtown cleanup last Friday morning. Really good turnout, probably 50-ish people. And it was great. Took different kind of areas of downtown to go pick up all of the trash that just kind of gets thrown by the wayside, which is unfortunate, but it was really impressive to see how many people showed up to help beautify our already beautiful downtown. And then I did some things in my unofficial capacity, but the one thing that I will make mention of is last Monday, I participated in a panel discussion concerning America 250. And that was a worthwhile event hosted at the U of I. Yeah, really great kind of questions that came in about the state of democracy currently as it relates to the state of democracy historically, and just a really lively discussion to engage with, both from kind of my role on city council, but also my role as an instructor at U of I, and felt very lucky to be invited to participate in that. Then this week, there's a subcommittee tomorrow for PBAC. And then on Monday morning, I think some of us, myself included, will be in here to meet with some high schoolers to tell them and talk to them about local government. And it's always pretty fun. We'll see if they're awake at 8 a.m. We'll see. Other than that, just staying busy, being out in the community, and happy about it. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
I love it. Okay, popcorning over to Sandra. What would you like to share?
Sure. And quick, because I'm in an odd time like Drew. Things are on fire at work, and so didn't get to go to as many things as I typically do. We'll highlight that Ren Fair is coming up the first weekend of May, so I hope everyone comes out to that. Excited for that. Looking forward to historic preservation, I believe, this week. And I just have to say I miss Beans and Jeans, which I was sad about because my favorite neighbor turned 8 and the party went a little long. So, sorry about that. And then I would also like to highlight we've had 2 University of Idaho bound events on campus with lots of families coming in. And between that and the weird traffic at Nez Perce, you're wondering why things were backed up a little bit over the weekend. I would say that's probably what it was. I was sorry to miss the AIC meeting, all set to go, and then some things sort of not literally caught on fire, but felt like they were on fire. So I am sorry that I missed that. I believe we also have Muir coming up beginning of May. So I think that's where I'm at.
Love it. Okay. Sage, what would you like to share?
Yeah, not much for me. No P&Z meeting, but I do have one this Wednesday, so I'll be attending to that. And then Human Rights Commission, haven't had a meeting since the last meeting, but we have HRC tomorrow, so busy week for me. I too was at the AIC event, and that was great. And been spending lots of time with my newborn. So yeah,
As you should. I love it. I love it. Okay. Evan, what would you like to share?
I'm looking forward to meeting your future counselor. The main thing I want to bring up is Arbor Day celebration, 11 a.m. at U of I campus this weekend, and the Tree Commission has been involved with preparing to table there and hand out seedlings, 3 different species that you can go there and get for nothing. So to help with your Xeriscape plans, the Tree Commission will next meet May 5th in this building, 5 p.m. Tuesday, May 5th. Otherwise, Sustainable Environment Commission and Fair and Affordable Housing Commission worked on things that are our agenda tonight we're full of. That is what we have been doing, and so I've been involved with that. Some of this I've seen for the 3rd or 4th time. So kudos to them for working so well with staff and getting so well prepared. I'm going to leave it at that for tonight, and better and more next time.
Scott, what would you like to share?
I'll be quick. Arts Commission, they selected finalists for the MPD sculpture as well as the city shop. So the next couple of months, those artists will be working on those and submitting them. And there's a call for artists on the storm drain murals as well.
I think I only have 3 or 4 things. Just the Arbor Day is at Guy Wicks, if I'm not wrong, Guy Wicks, from 11 to 12:30 with the ceremony starting at 11:30. We do have a tree permit process. If you choose to take home a seedling, the tree permit process is not meant to be something that it's like, I think it's a couple of dollars, but it's an intentional thing to make sure that you're selecting the right kind of tree for the right spot in your lawn and is not setting the future owner of your home up for a clay pipe being impeding by a really wide root system. So if you'd like to know if you take home a seedling on Friday, I would encourage you to reach out to our city staff to learn more about our tree permit process. I went through it and then I waited too long to plant the seedling and it didn't take. So I'm going to try again this year. So Arbor Day, and forward looking, the Artability Showcase is something that is, it's organized outside of, it is not a city event, but it is a really important community event and one of my favorite places to buy art. It is hosted by it's an acronym of an association, and I can't remember, the River Tourist Park, but it's
always use LMTOT for
I really like that, actually. Although it's not so much as losing the train has left the station, and with the other acronym in mind. So Artability is put on not by Disability Action Center, but it's next Wednesday, the 29th. It's 5 to 7 p.m. at the 1912 Center. And it's just a really, really, really cool chance for these community members who have participated in workshops put on by a department at the university. This is really a shame that I can't think of it anyway, but I have a lot of friends from high school who still participate, and it's very special. And it usually falls on a Monday. This year it's on a Wednesday. Hope to see you all there. They usually have snacks. I believe 5 to 7 p.m. And then my last thing, which is a great bookend on a 2-hour long meeting, I received an anonymous letter with feedback from someone in the community. And I just want to say thanks, fine, love it. Also, I hope you all feel and the community feels that you are welcome to, I am open to feedback and you are always welcome to reach out to me. And I would love to, I don't know why this person did not sign this letter, but I am open to it and I will be working on the things suggested in that letter. It made me sad to think that someone wanted to provide feedback without signing it. So please know I am open to it. I am approachable. And we're all only human, and I'm going to do what I can to bring the parts of myself that make myself approachable all the time. One of the lines in this letter suggested I use groovy less. I'm not sure I can commit to that, to be honest.
You gotta do you.
Yep. So please know that we hopefully are all eager to learn from each other and learn from feedback in the community. And please reach out anytime. Thank you. With that, does anyone want to provide?
I think we should adjourn, and that's my motion.
Unless Bill has anything he wants to add.
The only thing I was going to clarify on tree planting permits, that's only for trees planted in the public right of way. So if you're going to put it on your lot, your backyard, or in your front
Thank
yard,
you.
no
Like,
permit
I'm
required.
I should-
trees, like.
Great. So one of the things in this letter was also like, man, you really get out in front of your skis, young lady. So let me just further clarify. The tree that I planted that did not survive was in the tree island, and it did not survive. So, and
Yeah.
put me out to pasture, y'all. Okay, great.
No, just want to make sure, I just want to make sure
Wasn't
people
your
weren't worried.
fault.
Thank you. It is for public right of way. Thank you. And also free advice from your arborist if you want to know what, anyway, you have resources available. Thanks, Phil. Sandra has a motion. Anyone feel like seconding?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Any opposed? We're adjourned.